Hey guys, it's Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I have the do's and don'ts of nail vinyls. And if you don't know what a nail vinyl is, it's basically a stencil sticker for your nail, and it makes doing nail art a whole lot easier. So yeah, I'm just going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks that I've learned over time. And then I'll also be giving you some examples on how to use different kinds of vinyls. So whenever I'm using nail vinyls, I always start off by applying a quick dry top coat over my base color. So I'm going to be using the Sally Hansen Big Quick Dry Top Coat, and I've been using this for probably about a year or two now. I really like it. It's affordable, it dries fast, and it works. So I'm going to apply that and then let my nail dry completely. This is like the most important thing when it comes to nail vinyls, because if your base isn't completely dry when you go to put it on, it's going to either rip up the base color or leave a dent in your nail. So I normally wait about 30 minutes, which I know seems long, but I rather wait too long instead of go to put it on and then have to start all the way over. I'm going to be starting off with this circle nail vinyl, and I do get all of my vinyls from What's Up Nails, and I really like that they have a variety of sizes so you can find one that fits your nail length. But basically I just take a pair of tweezers and peel the vinyl right off of the paper, and I will have all of the tools and materials I'm using linked down below in the description box, but all I'm going to do is peel that off and then place it onto my nail. So when I put it onto my nail, I kind of just lay it on, and then I'll look and see if I want to readjust it, and if I do, I'll just pick it back up and move it over a little bit, and then once I have it in the place I want, then I will start to smooth it down. And this is also really important because you don't want nail polish seeping underneath the nail vinyl. So I'm just taking my tweezers and pressing down on it, and you can also use your finger to do this. I just feel like tweezers are just, I don't know, more precise, I guess. But then after that, I'm just going to grab an opaque nail polish color and fill in that shape. And you do want to be careful to stay inside of the lines. And as soon as you're done, you're going to remove the nail vinyl before that nail polish dries. And I do use tweezers to peel off the vinyl, but again, you can use your fingers if you want. But either way, you want to make sure you're working quickly. But yeah, once you remove your vinyl, you just add your top coat and you're done. So even though you do have to wait in the beginning for your nail to dry, I still feel like these make your life so much easier. So moving on to the next example, I'm still going to be using the circle nail vinyl, but sometimes you're going to want to use a nail polish shade that isn't as opaque, or basically you can't just paint it on like I did in the first example. So if this happens, then you want to sponge it on using a makeup sponge, and I especially like to do this when it comes to glitter nail polish. I don't know why, I just feel like it's super easy to work with. So basically what I'm going to do is use the small end of the sponge and apply glitter nail polish to it, and then I let it soak in for a little bit, and then I'm going to sponge it onto that shape. So again, you're going to make sure you fill in the entire shape before you go to remove the nail vinyl. With this method, you'll probably have to refill your sponge about 2 or 3 times, but because you're sponging it on, it's okay if the nail polish dries between each coat. I know it's kind of hard to explain, but because you're using this method, it's pressing down on the nail vinyl, so it's not going to seep under and mess up. I'm really hoping this makes sense, but basically it's going to depend on the vinyl and the pattern on whether you sponge or not. But I do like sponging on the polish because I feel like I get a more even layer as opposed to just painting it on. Now I just have a quick don't example, and as you can see, I'm trying to fill in the shape just by painting it on with the glitter, but it's just not working, and I'm trying to like hurry, but it's just getting really globby, and this is what you don't want, because first off, that's going to take forever to dry, and also you'll see when I go to peel it off, it just doesn't give me that clean shape like I wanted. And another thing, I didn't let my base dry completely, so you can also see that it ripped off that brown base. To avoid this, all you have to do is make sure your base dries completely and sponge on the glitter. So moving on to the next example, I'm going to be using these French tip nail vinyls, and even though it's for French tip, I use these in so many different ways around my nail. So this is what I do whenever I'm painting above or below a nail vinyl instead of filling in a shape. Again, you want to make sure the vinyl is smoothed down completely, and then I'm just going to take an opaque nail polish color and paint right above it. I am working pretty quickly, so as soon as I'm done, I'm going to peel off my nail vinyl before the nail polish dries. And I do think these are the easiest nail vinyls to work with. So if you are new to nail vinyls, I would recommend something like this. The main thing you do want to be careful of is going over the nail vinyl. So you guys will see in a second that instead of staying in that border, I kind of went over it right there. So what that's going to do is when I remove it, it's going to be like a random speck kind of doing nothing. So that's just something to look out for. And you can also just put a piece of tape on the other side just in case you mess up. And another thing you want to avoid is using a sheer color when you're doing this, because as you can see, it's just not showing up. And it also makes it easier to use your darker color on top and your lighter color on the bottom as your base color. Moving on to the next example, this is when you want to use a nail vinyl and cover your entire nail. And this is going to make more sense in a second, but basically same thing. I'm going to start off with a completely dry base, apply the nail vinyl to my nail, and then make sure it's smoothed down. And then this time I'm going to be applying nail polish over my entire nail. So I'm going to cover the nail vinyl, cover the base color, everything. So with this method, you do want a very opaque color. And I know I keep saying this, but you want to work quickly and get that nail vinyl off as soon as possible. So as soon as I had my nail covered, I ripped it off, and this was so satisfying. Do you see that? Oh. And then after that, I'll go back in and fix any areas I missed. So I'm just filling in the bottom using a small brush from Amazon that I cut down. Another thing, when you're using nail vinyls, I would definitely recommend doing one nail at a time, because if you're trying to do 2 or 3, then it's just going to make it more difficult and more likely to mess up. So next, I'm going to be using another nail vinyl that has a shape in it. But unlike my first design of just the circle, this is a lot more intricate. So I like to sponge with this, because you guys will see, I don't know why, maybe it's just me, but when it comes to just painting on it, it just doesn't work for me. So again, I'm going to start off with a completely dry base and move the nail vinyl to how I want it. Sometimes you're going to find that nail vinyls will kind of hang off and it'll make it harder to press down onto your nail. And that normally happens with vinyls like these or the big square nail vinyls. So what you're going to do is just take a pair of scissors and cut off the excess parts of it, and it just makes it easier to press down onto your nail. Again, I will be using the small side of the sponge for this, so I'm just applying the nail polish on it, letting it soak in a little bit, and then sponging it onto my nail. I ended up repeating this 3 times until my shape was filled in, and then peeled off the nail vinyl as soon as I could. And another thing about sponging on the colors is you can do multiple colors and do like a cool ombre effect in some of these shapes, so yeah, just throwing that out there. But here I have another don't example, and like I said, for some vinyls, painting it on just doesn't work, and that's the case for this one. It's just a little bit too intricate. So you'll see I painted it on, I ripped it off as soon as possible, but it still ended up like this. So this is what you don't want to do. Again, just stick to sponging for this. For the next example, I'm going to be sponging over my entire nail, so I did apply a barrier just to help with cleanup. And this time I'm going to be using a nail vinyl that pretty much covers my entire nail. I made sure my base was completely dry, I smoothed it down, and this time I'm going to be using the big side of the sponge because I need to make sure I can cover my nail completely. So I'm just wiping the color onto the sponge, letting it soak in a little bit, and then dabbing it onto my nail. This took about 2 coats to completely cover my nail, and in between each coat I do let my nail dry for probably about 30 seconds. So in that time, I'll refill my sponge, let it soak in, and then go ahead and do the next layer. So if I peel the vinyl off and I notice there's like a small area that's a little bit messed up, I'll actually take a toothpick and kind of just fix whatever got on the wrong side. So just kind of scrape it off a little bit. And that's just something you can do if it bothers you. Honestly, nobody's probably going to notice anyway. But after that, I'm just going to remove my barrier and apply a top coat. So you guys know how I keep saying to let the nail polish soak into the sponge a little bit? Well, the reason is because if you just keep sponging onto your nail when it's super wet, like I am right here, then it kind of starts seeping under the nail vinyl. So when you go to peel it off, it's just like underneath it and it's not giving you that clean peel. And another thing I did here was not using a barrier. It's just gonna make cleanup a lot longer. So even if you're not using the barriers I use, you can also just use Scotch tape. You can get some liquid latex. Just something is gonna help. Next, I'm using the same vinyl, except I'm painting it on, so this is an option too. I really don't know why I put a barrier on this time, but you don't need one if you're just gonna paint it on. I peeled it off as soon as I was done, and if it does rip, it's okay. Just pick up wherever it left off. I feel like that happens to me, especially when I'm using a bigger nail vinyl. And if you're like me and you notice the tiny little specks that mess up, another way to fix it is just by taking a small brush and getting those colors and just fixing any mistakes, filling out the bottom, whatever you want to do, it's really up to you. So I went ahead and did that. But again, nobody's even going to be that close to your nail to be able to see these tiny things, but I don't know. So for my last don't, this is what happens when you use a vinyl like this and you let your nail polish dry before peeling it off. It's just not going to go well. And I also made the nail polish way too thick here, so be careful of that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other tips that you use when using nail vinyls, please feel free to comment them down below so we can all help each other. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be back very soon with another do's and don'ts. And if there is another topic you would like a do's and don'ts video on, let me know and I'll see if that's something I can do. But yeah, I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.